Hello everyone, this is Zoltar and welcome to our Offworld Trading Company patch preview. Now this is going to be for the patch that's supposed to be hitting on April 15th. So it's just a couple of days away and we're just going to see what's going to be coming at that point. Now, fair warning, this is actually going to be divided into two videos because there are an awful lot of changes coming in. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this initial video kind of devoted to general game changes, like option changes and in-game balance changes and things of that nature. Then we're going to have an entirely separate video devoted to the campaign changes because the campaign is receiving a rather major overhaul this patch, so I want to have a really good look at it as well. So just to get started here, let's hop into the options menu. You'll notice a couple of things different. First of all, things just look a little bit nicer. You'll notice that trend kind of continuing, the UI just looking a little bit better at times, which is very nice to see. The big thing I want to point out though on this options screen is, well, first of all, we have sliders now. So that's cool instead of just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is what we had before. And then we've got these kind of player options that we can turn on or off to basically just have it so that we can turn all of our buildings on auto supply if we want to, which anybody who's kind of familiar with the game and knows what's going on probably would enjoy using that option. We have the ability to auto share resources with teammates, or start the game sharing all resources with teammates, and the ability to toggle whether or not we want the game to turn off buildings it perceives as unprofitable when we execute buyouts. So those are some nice toggles to have, and that's definitely going to be good additions to the game. Next up, we're actually going to head into the multiplayer lobby because I want to point out, if I can, we'll just allow observers, make a quick little game here. And then I am actually able to adjust my difficulty in-game to observer. And we'll also see that what's happening is as I adjust my difficulty, there's actually a log going into chat to inform people, hey, this person's changing their difficulty, maybe you want to pay attention to that. And from here we can also look at some of the other lobby options. There are quite a number of them now. We have the very, very standard stuff we've had before, all these things up here we've been seeing. The double stock mode is replacing the marathon mode. I don't remember if that's exactly a name change or if it is just exactly what it says, stock prices are doubled. I want to say it's the stock prices are doubled, and the game just takes longer now as the general idea, which is interesting. Definitely an interesting addition to the game. We have the daily challenge option here, so we can play on whatever the daily challenge map is in multiplayer, which could lead to some interesting things in the future, especially. Then we have 8 days mode is what it's called now instead of colony stock or 7 days or whatever. The game ends at the end of day 8, so technically it's 9 days that you play out because we start on day 0. And the player with the highest stock price wins. And we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the campaign, just to give you a little hint of what's going on there. And then mostly we have the rest of the things. And the replay file seems to be working for me now. That seems to be functional. No guarantee, but when I was testing it out, it was working. So I know people have had trouble with it in the past. Hopefully it'll be functional for you as well at this point. So that's just a nice little look. You will notice that you're not going to be able to join lobbies as observers anymore, I believe, because you can change the difficulty in-game to observer. So that's not a big deal. It's just all little touch-ups here and there. Small things like Steam should get a notification when the game starts to kill the lobby, basically, and not let anybody else join it. So hopefully that'll also clean up like some of the dead lobbies you see where people join just as the game is beginning and everything gets all weird. All right. A couple of other things to note before we actually jump into a game are going to be that, let's see, I've got a little notes over here that I'm trying to read off of in order to make sure I don't miss too much. Starting resources we can talk about once we're in game. There was something I wanted to bring up before I actually moved into the game. Oh yes, back-to-back random events will no longer occur. So when you would see like a carbon short and then a carbon short, and it's like, well, the first one was probably enough to give the scavengers a big advantage. The second one means the game's over. That's not going to happen anymore. So that's very, very nice. There are going to be more minimum resources per player. I think that was specifically focused, from what I was seeing in the notes, toward smaller maps, but may apply to bigger maps as well. we've noticed that was kind of an issue. That was a nice thing about having our tournament lately, was a couple of times we would see that there was just kind of a map win where somebody managed to claim all of a resource and almost all of another resource instantly just purely by founding because there was just none of it on the map. And then the other player really didn't have a chance to fight back. And let's see. Other small things like observer mode, you'll be able to more easily see, I think, how much cash people have, possibly. You'll be able to see once you get bought out, instead of having the UI show up that indicates percentage on somebody being able to buy you out, which is obviously useless because you're dead, right? Who cares? And it doesn't even display completely correctly because the guy who bought you out, it wouldn't display for. Now, instead of that, we're going to see how much cash on hand each player has in the UI, so that's nice. And there's now a concede button, which my understanding in multiplayer is that concede is going to be very similar to quitting. And basically, if it gets to the point where there's only one human player left in a multiplayer game, and everybody who's left alive has conceded, that player will just be awarded the victory rather than playing it out against the AIs, not knowing that people have turned themselves into AIs, things like that. And then the winner in mass games will be revealed. I don't know if I mentioned that one or not yet, but there it is. Oh, another thing real quick. Tab is going to now be the button we can click to cycle through headquarters rather than backspace. Makes a lot more sense, just a lot more understandable. It should be fairly simple and easy to use from there. All right. That's most of the stuff we definitely wanted to look at out of game, I think. So I'm just going to why don't we just pop into the daily challenge for today? Take a look and see exactly what's going on in game. All right. Hopefully it won't take too long to get founded. I don't actually know what this map looks like. I could have done that ahead of time. Been like, man, if I just plan on the daily challenge map, I'll know where to go for a quick found and we can get started here. I would have been thinking ahead though, and I'm not particularly good at that. Still no aluminum. I'm just checking for some aluminum now that I've found a couple good sources of iron. Like to secure some of that. We'll get founded and we can start taking a look at some of these changes. That's not going to be a good source of aluminum, even if it is aluminum. These are probably all carbon, because that's, oh, well, those are iron. Whatever. Scanning takes forever. It's fine. It's just a little awkward when we're trying to get into the game, because I really don't want to found without finding aluminum, since aluminum's apparently going to be this difficult.
Low levels of
Whoa. Well, that's usable.
High levels of aluminum found.
PB's going to yell at me again for calling that usable, but whatever. Not my problem.
Run colonization build
Sell stuff. Okay, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and pause the game right here. I already sold a little bit, but hopefully not too much to avoid the point. We see that starting resources have changed significantly. Glass, I believe, used to start at $40. Electronics used to start at $80. And what has happened is everything is a bit more standardized now. So resources that are pulled directly from the ground, those base level resources, are all going to start at $20. And power is included in this, I suppose. Where water is $20, aluminum and iron are both $20, carbon is $20, and silicon is $20. I think the big change there is water used to start at $10, now it's $20. Which I think is good, because you would always kind of avoid founding on water if you could manage it, because it was like, that's actually just not worth dollars at this point. It's just not worth anything. So that's a nice little thing. Resources on the next tier, which is going to be resources that can be made purely from those base resources you collect in the ground. They're going to start at $40, so that's going to include the food, oxygen, fuel, and steel. Not glass anymore, and that's the big thing. The next tier of resources are the 3 resources in the game that all require resources produced from another building. So, because oxygen is so strange and only takes dry ice, technically the oxygen we're counting as being only produced from the reactor, and so glass will be 60, electronics will be 60, and chemicals will start at 60. So, this kind of like clarifies these resources as a bit more difficult to obtain, a bit more late game, and maybe rewards you a bit more for making them early. Could move glass production up a little bit based off of things like this. And then everything else is going to start at $40 overall. That honestly looks like kind of a buff to robotic to me, but I think that's okay because most people still kind of agree robotics may be a bit weak right now and having some difficulty and some struggles. One thing I will point out, occasionally I'm getting this bug, it seems, where this looks like I have the team UI up. I don't know what that's about. Maybe it'll be resolved by the time the patch actually comes out, but for some reason I have a team UI even though I'm playing solo. That's whatever. So that's what we really needed to look at as we got started in the game. So we'll just speed it up a bit and go on through. We'll be looking to upgrade before too terribly long. Actually, I need to make sure I actually buy my steel for upgrading. There we are. We'll upgrade, unpause, bring the speed down just a bit for my own sanity. Somebody's going to take this aluminum. That's actually unfortunate. I thought about taking it just so nobody would box me in here, but that's happened at this point anyway. So let's get our steel down. Still kind of running on fast speed, because just why not? And one thing you'll notice is we've got these very different base build animations. This is going to be the general shared build animation, and we're looking at this building because it's a wind turbine. And you'll notice that the wind turbine looks very different now. Don't really know why the old model is still being displayed in the tooltip when you mouse over, but there it is. That's the new wind turbine. It's a lot bigger. It's a lot more wind turbine-y, I guess. I don't know. It's just a giant fan these days. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Personally, I think I might have liked the old one better, but this one definitely has its own quality to it, so there it is. We'll just keep going through upgrades here as fast as we can, trying to get further into the game so we can look at more stuff. Another important thing to note, since we talked about this mouse over here and being able to view things here, we'll see that the net revenue is 18, and that's kind of an important detail that's been missing from observer mode, is the ability to mouse over a building and see exactly how much money that building is making. Thankfully, it looks like with this patch that is going to change, and the observer mode will now display, be able to mouse over for tooltips and get that revenue display, so that's very, very nice. Now, I'm probably just going to throw down solar panels when I upgrade, because we're going to be looking at the new animation for solar panels, which looks kind of cool in my opinion. I rather enjoy it. Looks pretty nice. Interestingly enough, glass's price has come down. Is one of you building glass? I've been seeing that occasionally, and I'm wondering, why did glass's price go down as people are upgrading and expanding? Because it started at 60. And I'm like, did the neutral colony sell glass? I'm not really sure. Oh well. Anyways, let's go ahead and
Full hardware
upgrade
complete.
We'll sell off some steel, which is now not making us money at all. And see if we can get some solar panels down. Oh, why not just put it on this carbon up here as soon as we can? Answer is because we're not making any money, but whatever. And now we get to watch the new solar panel animation. This looks pretty cool. I like it. It's just nice to see this. I'm hoping that eventually all buildings will have this sort of stuff. I think technically the reactor has this right now, even though it's kind of and vague that it's the reactor. I'd like to see that one improved, but like the solar panel looks nice. The farm has a nice clean little thing attached to it. It'd be good to see more stuff like this in the game for sure. Just definitely that nice little level of polish that we're looking for. Well, now we can see that the steel mill has decided to be completely useless, so we're just going to go ahead and delete them all. And you'll notice that you can now shift and scrap. And goodbye, steel mills. They're all gone. And it's that easy now. So that's nice. It's always good to see little enhancements like that. Other important details that I can't actually show you right now will include the fact that you can alt-click a building and have it send resources directly. Interestingly enough, right now, you cannot alt-shift-click a building. So you can't use that general like shift command to send a whole bunch of things all at once. Oh, another thing to point out, just the UI for taking claims just looks a little bit nicer now with this glowing little tube here rather than just the general line. All of that's just getting more and more enhanced, and it's nice, and I like it. So, there are going to be a couple other things to look at. AI generally has been going a bit higher on auctions for me lately, but I think I'm set to like assistant difficulty this game, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm mountain manager. I don't really know for sure. And so they're not pushing me too hard right now. Well, we have a geotherm. We could make these in a carbon production. We might do that before long. Needs H2O. We will auto supply. As you can see, I didn't have to actually hit the auto supply button because I had already had it turned on to auto supply from those player options. So that's nice. Unfortunately, I'm completely out of money right now, so we need to work on actually making money for a little bit here. There's some nice water down. I think ooh, there's a chem lab down, which is worth a lot, but it's not making any chems right now, because why would you have a chem lab down right now? Whatever. Computers. They're insane. Ooh, we can just take some of this. Whatever, it'll turn back on eventually. I don't care anymore.
Those filthy bandits.
And let's get our electrolysis up, so we can start making money and keep showing off new things in the game. Once again, we have that tab cycles through HQs now, so that's very, very nice. That we'll be able to use. We can go ahead and check out the menu here. We just see resume game settings and resign rather than quit. So resign, concede, whatever you want to call it. That's all very good. Speed up the game just a bit for a while while we work on making enough money to get another reactor down. Oh, yes, reactors also, by the way, do look different. Not as drastic a change as the wind turbine, obviously, but just a nice little enhancement. It just looks a little cleaner. This little glowing ring looks kind of nice. I like it. It's another one of those little improvements that I really enjoy. I got my water pump dynamited, so let's fix that up. Slow the game down just a hair so I can pay attention to it. And frozen. AI being very aggressive with its nonsense today, but whatever. Let's just look for an upgrade. Oh, come now. Don't tease me like that. Upgrade.
Hardware upgrade complete.
Now we need to put down electronics. I'm thinking what we're going to do is we'll just scrap out these solar panels, actually get some carbon quarries up as soon as we can.
Scientific colony
Oh, that was rude.
Are auctioning their services to the highest bidder.
5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000.
Yes, 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 pirates. I'm just trying to let these go so we can get to more stuff for the moment. Oh, the Pleasure Dome also looks new, by the way. So that's cool. It's just a little more, I don't know, Pleasure Domey. A little bit less boxy, which is nice to see. And then you have the typical music, whatever you want to call it, surrounding it. Dust Storm seems to be a little bit better than it used to be. I did notice that during the campaign, when I'm trying to scan around a dust storm, it's a little on the ridiculous side. These are barely making me money anymore. So that's kind of frustrating, but whatever. I can just turn them off for all I care. It was kind of difficult to scan during the campaign during a dust storm because obviously in some campaigns sometimes you get a dust storm across the entire map, and while it's been toned down a bit from what it used to be, it's still kind of iffy at that stage. So watch out for that during the campaign. Just be prepared that you might not be able to see very well. Get that down. We'll get this geotherm down that we took so long ago.
Those filthy bandits.
Our electrolysis is kind of useless. A little more water might be kind of nice. We'll just take that and... Oh, good. I'm getting nuked now. That's fantastic. The AI is really being aggressive with its black market. Good thing the AI isn't good at the game, or that would be a little bit more frustrating than it is at the moment. And we could honestly think about glass production if we wanted to, instead of these reactors, which would lose us money quite a bit. But we might just take the simple option and head into food. Even though we are a robot. Electronics getting a little out of control, but not as fast as it would have been before because it did start $20 lower. So that's nice. And another thing we'll be able to do is show off the changes in the farm, which now costs less power. You can see the farm now costs only 0.1 power to actually run. And so that's nice. It used to cost 0.2 during the day. And we'll see what it costs during the night as well. So that's also very, very good.
7,000, 8,000.
I don't really care about that iron tile, if I'm honest. We'll just let it sit. That's fine. I have enough iron coming in. Oh, power short. We do have power online, and it's not quite enough at the moment, and that shortage is actually kind of a pain, so we'll see if we can fix that. And the farm only actually requiring 2.2 power at night. So that's just a half cost on power for the farm, which is definitely, I think, a buff the building needed. The farm was a little bit weak, very difficult to move into. You'd almost never see it come down very early. And then it cost a lot of power as well, maybe a bit more than it needed to, because it doesn't produce a large number of resources. Very different from the reactor in that way. And so that's Definitely, I think, a positive change for the game.
Replicators online.
Down a solar panel there. You know what? I'm just going to spread
Progress.
solar panels
Stand
like
by.
all through here, I think. Just for the moment while power is expensive. Then maybe we can make some electronics and just work on cleaning up the game. Or we could just make a hacker array, for all I care. And clean up the game that way. Ooh, steel mill's not doing so hot with power this expensive. Worth paying attention to. How about these metal mines? They're all fine. We have power online now. We're getting mutinied because the computer's very, very aggressive with that black market when they can get away with it these days, which is nice to see. I mean, it's a good play. The computer should make good plays sometimes. It does get a little frustrating, though, because they really seem to hate you and not each other so much. Take that geo back, thank you very much. Hack array is online. We'll just short out some food because the computer, well, we can see they still have this issue where they don't understand adjacency very well. Where is that dynamite? Oh, great. Fantastic. Anyway, they still don't quite get adjacency all the time. Like these are happening. Oh, an electronic shortage. That's unfortunate. Mutiny here. We'll make sure to get those electronics buildings down.
5,000. 7,000. 8,000.
Yes, yes. Water is water is water. That's fine. Oh, good. More nukes. More nukes. This hadn't been nuked yet, so that's good. We'll just actually put a solar panel way over here, because that's not worth anything right now. And we do have the option of putting an electronics factory here even. It would have very, very nice adjacency bonuses. And we may as well do it, because, well, the solar panel's still okay for now. It's fine. It's all good. Actually going to do some of that. Nah, that was a computer. Or, sorry, that was a scientific. Oh, well. Not a big deal. Now I'm just pushing to the end of the game because there's actually one more detail
Scientific colony
I
expanded.
really want to show off. I think we covered the important
Our hackers
stuff.
have compromised the
We can
training
see that I
center.
can just alt-click and
Price
send a building.
manipulation begins
Cannot
shortly.
shift alt-click, which I'm trying to do right now to send from all buildings of that type. Would like to be able to do that, but whatever. It's not too big a deal. Dust storm's kind of a pain, but whatever. Short out food again. Because hacker array, and why not? But there is one more detail I want to show off, and hopefully it'll kind of show itself off before too terribly long, because that was the general idea I wanted to go with here. I guess another small thing, by the way, this Pleasure Dome is making him $84 a second, and it would be making less if the Pleasure Dome was further away from this neutral colony in the middle of the map, so that's worth noting for sure. Man, these dust storms are making insane amounts of money for that guy. And there's a power short going on during it. That's awful. Well, we need to do something about that. There. You're all refrozen. And we're just waiting on this food to come on in. How much money are we sitting on? About 97,000. How much do we need to buy this player out? Not too much. Maybe we could go ahead and make this sell before the short occurs. Hold on. See, now we can see. I'm going to pause the game.
To the price manipulation begins shortly.
There is a red buyout button here because I can actually just shift and click the buyout and immediately get it. Bam, done. And what I had to do was I had to pay double price on each and every stock in order to make that happen. So it costs more money than just executing a buyout over time, but you can ignore the stock delay that exists in a multiplayer game. Obviously, in a game against AI, where stock delay is typically turned off like it is now, and I can just buy as much stock as I want as long as I have the money, it's not as big a deal. But in a multiplayer game, that could potentially make a huge difference when someone is kind of death spiraling out. Instead of getting to this point where someone death spirals, right? Their stock price goes down to like $2. And so people start buying into him, trying to get to that buy. And then you reach this awkward point where no one wants to take the last one or the next to last one, you know, where they can actually execute the buyout. Because as soon as you buy that, you're locked out for 4 seconds and somebody else will finish the buy for you. And that's problematic. So now you'll be able to bypass that completely and simply get to the buy immediately as long as you have a large number of funds. So hopefully that will help make the game a bit more fair in those circumstances. that's really what I wanted to show off. We have this pirate auction going on. I don't really care about it. We'll go ahead and finish up the game, but those are the really, really, really big things from the patch. I'm going to go over my notes very quickly. Make sure I didn't miss anything while we wait for this to finish up. It should basically finish itself for me, honestly, but it's not that big a deal. Oh, an electronic surplus. That sucks. Hold on.
Scientific colony
We'll just short food then
Pirates.
instead of
I
electronics.
hate those filthy bandits.
I mean, I'll put down more electronics because they're still going to be worth hundreds of dollars, right? But
The black
you'll just
market
notice
is
some of these things look
online.
a little bit cleaner than they did before. Was that a food surplus coming in? Am I crazy? Is that a food shortage coming in? I don't even know. Buff up our food production. Oh, look, we can finish this buyout. And we'll just start buying into this person as much as we can and finish the game very, very quickly. But yeah, those were most of the big changes for this game. It was very interesting to me what a lot of them were. So that'll give you guys a nice idea of some of the non-campaign changes that have gone into the game. We're going to be looking a bit more at 8 Days mode and the campaign specifically in the next video. But for now, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.